Welcome to Agency Acquisitions and Exits. I'm your host, Peter Lang. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Stefan Katanic, founder and CEO of Veza Digital. Not only has he made the decision to scale through M&A, he also is building a global powerhouse in the digital agency space, focusing on Webflow and other digital services. His global perspective, his creative deal making, has established one of the most forward-thinking M&A entrepreneurs in the digital space. I'm honored to be a board advisor. He's one of my mentees and to help him thrive and scale on this growth through M&A journey. He's going to share a bunch of very specific and tangible M&A tactics that he's used to get deals done. So let's dive in. Stefan, thank you for joining me.
Peter, thank you for having me, and thank you for being a part of my journey in mergers and acquisitions. It's been an honor.
Okay, for the listener, you're not some seasoned M&A guy.
I'm not.
You're not some long tenured agency guy.
Nope.
So explain to me and the listener your entrepreneurial journey that led you to found Veza Digital and get your first deal done.
I was always a type to be on the early wave of new things. I was never technically inclined to do website development, web design, SEO, any of the services that Veza sells today or agencies that we're purchasing. I always looked at opportunities based on what people wanted, and I was able to find a proper supply for them to use. And I was always that middleman. I started Veza 8 years ago. And I started as a glorified marketing consultant with an agency behind me, but it was just me doing all the work, the sales, the marketing, the delivery, the finance, the accounts payable, accounts receivable. I did that for about a year where I decided to, after that 1 year, I decided to, hey, I gotta, this is getting serious. I have to now scale up and start hiring people. At that time, I brought on my first delivery person who helped me organize myself on the back end because I have a lot of great ideas. The implementation of these ideas, I can't implement them fast enough how fast I actually get the ideas. My mind is always thinking ahead in the future, in the vision, and my reality is lagging a little bit behind that from time to time. So because I'm a big thinker, I'm a visionary, I always needed a team behind me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start an agency. I'm going to have a team working on client projects, and then I'm going to have a team working on my projects. And the agency was always as the cash cow. I always saw it as a cash cow to finance my other projects that I always wanted to do. And I did it for a little bit of time, and I realized that my projects I had were, failures, or they were done half-assed because I didn't have the proper attention to go and do it, because I always wanted geometric growth. I always wanted to build something big. I always wanted to build a business that would not support a lifestyle, but support a lifestyle for many people a part of it. And so I decided to cancel all my side projects 2.5 years into Veza, to really just go all in on providing digital marketing services for B2B SaaS companies that we like to work with. And for me, I always found opportunities in the agency that I was able to flex my creativity on. For example, launching whitelabelagency.co, because we used to sell services like crazy. We never did the fulfillment for it, or we did very little of it, and we would white label other agencies to go and do that fulfillment on our behalf. That to me, I thought I fucking figured it out. I said, I cracked the code. I know how to make money.
I could sell something and I don't got to deliver it.
Exactly. The dream. At some point I realized, I'm like, all right, well, this is getting pretty boring. Like, what's next? So I started the white label agency and actually doing the services for other agencies that wanted to do it. So we reinvented that white label agency concept. We did really well. And then unfortunately, more on the fortunate side, we exited that business last year to go and double down on doing the acquisition strategy for Veza Digital with your help. It's been, in my last 8 years, the last year and a half have been the most accelerated in my personal career, in my personal learning, in my own skills that I have as a CEO that worked on operations, that worked in sales and business development, that worked on the actual business, not systems, because I'm not a systems guy, but the actual vision and building the bridges of systems for my team to go and execute on. That has been the highlight of the last 18 months for me. And so today, May 28th, 2025, I have a pipeline full of acquisitions. We have a very capable team to go and execute on the sales front now, on the finance front, on the M&A front. We have a flag planted in our market right now, and we're going to continue to raise that flag higher and higher over the next couple of months. And it's really exciting, this transformation that I've been through, and I've learned a lot. And I've learned a lot of good. I've learned a lot of bad. I'm still learning today. And I learned from this podcast that you put together, Peter. Every week I'm listening and seeing what others are learning that I'm probably missing. And I'm trying to build up my knowledge as fast as I can because, and I know this, that like my knowledge is still beginner entry level knowledge. However, I'm smart enough to learn quick enough to actually go and apply these different changes that I have because there's so many unknowns. There's just so many unknowns.
So you're rare in that you take action on ideas very quickly, and watching you accelerate and compress time through M&A has been a pleasure. But take us back to what motivates you on that. So maybe help the listener understand where you are in the world physically. Some of the things that inspired you within your family. You have your brother, you have close friends in the business, you have a way about you and the way your core values are reflected within your business that are helping you be more successful today than I think you even are aware of. So give that context.
Yeah, so it's a loaded question, and there's a long answer to it. I'm a global person. I am, I guess you can say, global citizen. I like being everywhere all the time. I intentionally left Toronto, Canada, about 6 years ago now, to relocate to Europe for a set period of time because COVID was happening in Canada. And if you saw the news and how bad Canada was, if you looked outside your window, you would have got a ticket. So I didn't want that lifestyle. I wanted the freedom. So I flew back to Belgrade, Serbia, where my family is originally from. And I said, you know what? I'm going to fist it out for 6 months and it's all going to go away. And 3 years later, it didn't go away. So I ended up building a small team in Belgrade and scaling that team to what it is today. And then I left Belgrade to live in Dubai in the UAE because, it wasn't a business decision until after I did it. I did it with the intention of, I just want to follow the summer. I want to have endless summers. So my wife and I, we decided to become residents and expats in Dubai. And so we spend 6 to 8 months of the year in Dubai. It's great for networking. There's a lot of benefits, obviously, for taxes there, for the kind of lifestyle that we like to live. We like to live an active lifestyle. We like beach life. We like going out to really cool fusion restaurants. And Dubai is the perfect place in the world for that because you have so much of the whole world consolidated in one place. So there's a lot of optionality there. We have a lot of friends in the space. And so for us, that was our intention. And then after came the business use case. We ended up expanding Veza Digital in the UAE. We got some really high profile clients there. We're continuing to get clients there because the way I see it now, it's a land grab in terms of the services that we provide than what they're traditionally known for. So Webflow is still new in the market and we have a first mover advantage there as well. And so for me, the culture at Veza Digital is freedom enforced. We like people that, I'm in the office now in Belgrade. It's not optional for people to come. People come as they please, as they choose. It's very flexible. I never wanted to be controlled or be locked into one spot. And when I was at my previous jobs early on, I fucking hated it. And so I don't want to have that on anyone else. So that's the culture of Veza. We are freedom people. You're right. I work with my friends. I work with my sibling, my brother. And for me, it's cool because I can tell my brother or my best friend exactly how it is without having to sugarcoat something. And they understand what the mission is and our friendship. And we continue to grow like that. And that culture and chemistry that everyone has with the team, it's one high performance team. It used to be a family, but now I keep people accountable.
There used to be a little bit more flexibility, but then you grew.
Exactly.
When did it become a strategy to pursue for growth versus this business development and drive that had led you to this point in the agency?
I knew that if I wanted to cross $3 million of annual revenue, that I needed to hustle my heart out. And this includes doing the same stuff I was doing the years before. Outbound marketing, focus on SEO, go to events, talk to clients, upsell, cross-sell, no sell, refer, all these different things. I realized that if I'm putting my effort to that anyways, and I'm only getting 20 to 30% year over year growth, of course, there's going to be some LTV that we just lose from other clients. it was more of an uphill battle where I used that same energy to do M&A and grow 2 or 3x in a given year. It just makes more sense. It's the Pareto principle. And I discovered that what aligns with what I want in life when I started, the pathway aligned way better because it was faster results. It was more growth, personal growth, income growth, and professional growth within the actual agency itself. M&A was the path. And at first I was debating it because I was thinking, I'm like, man, is now the right time? One, it's going to cost me my time. It's going to cost investments that we have to make. It's going to cost my attention going away from the actual organic growth of the business. Is it really worth it to pursue this? And at the time, I was like, I was really considering it. I had about a week that I was mulling over the idea if I'm going to do it or not. And the biggest theme that I had at my time was like, reflecting on it now, back then it would have been a different excuse, but now it was the fear of change, of having to like grow into a different version of myself. And I had to physically step into that new paradigm that was out of my current comfort zone. At the time, I had my first baby coming. We just moved new condos. My parents retired, so I had that extra pressure on my shoulders. So I had all these different things. I'm like, shit, like there's a lot happening at once. So I really want to do this now. And I'm like, you know what? I just woke up one day. I was talking to my family and my wife, and we just said, fuck it. I'm going to do it. What am I going to lose? Well, like, what am I going to lose? Okay, I might lose my main business, but I have this skill. When I step into a new business, I know exactly I'm stepping as a bigger and better person, and the opportunities that M&A has unlocked for me, if it ever gets to that, is far beyond than what it would have been if I didn't. And I'm really proud of that and really happy about that. So I just wish I decided to do this earlier now at this point. But you just don't know until you start.
The number one statement of anyone who wants to do it when they finally do it is, I wish I started earlier. So let's walk through your first acquisition, and maybe you can walk through the acquisition process that we execute as a way of fundamentally explaining the deal. And within that, let's first start with the criteria. And you didn't know at first what you were looking for. You had an idea, but you were kind of learning while interacting and discovering what sellers want. Walk us through those early outreaches, what you did, your approach.
I went to work right away. You know me. I didn't waste any time. I made a list. I executed in reaching out that list. I reached out to probably 150 people my first month. Maybe 5 of them
20 your
replied.
first week.
20 my first week, yeah. And like maybe 5 of them were actually good that went into the pipeline. So for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get to work. I'm going to do it just step by step, the way Peter teaches it, step by step. Don't worry about what's going to happen next. You'll figure that problem out once you get there. You have the advisors, you have the intellect, you have the mouth to talk your way in or out of something. So it's fine. So that was my mindset going into it. I just went.
Strong self-belief.
Yeah.
Which again is an edge and competitive advantage you have over many others. And you took your first calls. How'd that go?
My first calls were very, very painful because I was so used to selling, these 5 to multiple 6-figure deals to clients. And it's a different mindset. It's a different point of view. Selling, you put me in a room with like 4 other agencies we're competing with and a client. There's an 80% chance I'm going to win that because I just know all the pain points. I know what they're looking for. I know how to outpace and outsell my competitors because they're selling on a different type of level based on their experience. Mine is a lot personable. However, when it came to M&A, that approach did not work at all. Like it had a zero way to work. So for me now, what my biggest takeaway was when I was going to buy, I started becoming shy because it was new and I was out of my comfort zone. So I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to get myself in that mindset of being a buyer, but being in a buyer that has the best interest of the seller at heart because I know that they built a glass box around them. I broke through it and they're looking at me as a leader on how they can break their glass box. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And getting into their perspective, when you aren't too far off from being where they were, can lead to a lot of people feeling a little bit timid or imposter syndrome. And you brought me on as a board advisor to support kind of the confidence in it, but you still are the CEO. You're still the driver. You're still in charge. You're still the visionary. You're still responsible. And so you're making promises to people. What did you learn about sellers that maybe you got wrong or learned throughout the process of interacting with so many?
Sellers are a lot more emotional than buyers. I think people that, at least that I've spoken to in the last year and a bit, are really emotionally tied to their agencies. That to me was just like to have to, the perplexity of having to like have a fingertip feel of their perception and what they've built and how valuable and how close to heart they keep it. It's a very delicate topic, and you have to navigate it in a way where you're putting their baby at heart for the decision of this acquisition, because you know you have to paint a picture that where it is now and where it has to go doesn't involve them having to control every aspect of the business, having to operate it. It does take partners, people, and people at more advanced stages to help bring that brand up, and trying to paint that vision for them was my biggest challenge. And I, even today, as I talk to, much bigger agencies than what we talked to a year and a half ago, I still notice that, but it's hidden more behind processes, behind people, and it's a part of the culture. So now I'm starting to navigate more complex interconnectedness of someone's, what they've built over the last 10 years compared to what someone's built in the last 3 years. And that's a challenge that I'm dealing with now. And I don't think that challenge is going away, Peter. Like, I think the bigger you
Always,
go,
it's always there.
yeah.
You spent the time to get into the head and the perspective of the seller, which is M&A is just corporate business development. It's sales on steroids. So you're really good at the psychology of that. What was it that surprised you about the difference between finding sellers on your own, so proprietary deals, and the broker deals that you're reaching out to?
The broker deals, honestly, it was good practice. It was a good thing to get your reps in. I personally am not a fan of the brokers. I don't like their attitude. I don't like their approach. I don't think they're giving the right information to sellers. It seems a little bit unrealistic when talking to sellers. And we had sellers come back to us after going through the broker stage unsuccessfully selling their business. It's happening. We're seeing it. The brokers just put unnecessary pressure on you with deal terms and valuations that don't make sense for the buyer. It's very seller centric, and like Charlie Munger said, follow the incentive and you'll follow the decision that they're going after. And so going after the proprietary deals, it was much better because we positioned ourselves as our strategic buyer that wants that agency for a certain specific use case towards our vision. And the way we help accelerate that vision with that company, it just makes sense for the founders. Where on the broker side, these people, they wanted to get out of the business. And we saw it 9 times out of 10 that they just wanted to get some large cash payment. They won the lotto and they just want to, go on a nice vacation for a year in Thailand or Bali, whatever turns them on. I don't know. But for us, like, proprietary deals are the way to go. And finding these proprietary deals is the challenge because you have to siphon through a lot of discovery calls, a lot of introductions, seeing where people are and discovering what the current challenges are. And there's a reoccurring theme that I'm noticing, Peter, that the people that make good proprietary deals are people that give us a certain pattern of objections.
Okay,
Saying,
are we going to share these objections with everyone?
I think we should. Yeah, like the most
Okay.
common one at least. So the most common one saying, yeah, you know what? What if I stick for like one more year? I can grow this thing, I can double it, and then I can sell it. Maybe. But in a year, if you partner with us, you can not double it, you can probably quadruple it. And this is how, with our business development machine that we have, with the sales and marketing. And they're like, oh, wow, this is so interesting. Wow. Oh, this is how I can do it. Interesting. It opens up like a different mindset for them to think in a parallel way than what they would be doing now. And it helps bring it to surface, essentially. But with some people, it just doesn't work. But majority of people it works with.
The law of averages.
Yeah.
If you talk to enough people, it averages out. You got to put in the reps and get the numbers. What did you think about the acquisition process? Because I teach and preach a very detailed and structured a process that oftentimes people think, man, do I really need to do this sequencing of events? Is the audit that we teach is too long? People don't want to give it time to the audit. What's your thoughts on the process and what do you see sellers?
The process for me is A1. I couldn't do it without a process because then I would worry, what do I do next? I don't have to worry. There's a plan. Follow the plan. It's as simple as that.
What did you learn about the audit stage? So M&A is the number one tool to understand a market. So you can do investments and read capital markets and annual reports and learn about businesses.
Yeah, we got with
What'd you
the
learn?
audit.
What'd you learn about doing due diligence and doing audits on companies?
Well, it's almost like corporate espionage at some point, because you learn so much about how another agency is doing, and you figure out, hey, that might be, we should actually integrate this. Even if we don't buy the agency, we still learned a lot. So for me, the audit stage is I understand what the agency is doing different that we're not doing. I understand who the potential seller is that might join Veza, so I can tell from a cultural perspective, are they a good fit? Are they not a good fit? Why so? The audit also helped me discover that someone who completes the audit fully is very much engaged in your process and they respect your process. Whereas people who don't complete it, that they're probably just shopping around for a price and they want to just see what this process looks like and just, hey, I have other potential buyers, but let me just go through this just to say I went through it and see how far they go. So it's a good filter. It's good for market intelligence on competitors. It's good for understanding who the seller is and what their team composition is and how it fits in with your agency. I did the audit. I thought it was great.
When
I was answering questions I never knew were questions.
Yeah, which is that's pre-due diligence.
Yeah.
At a stage, we talked about your team and how good your team was going to get, because you weren't just going out and doing M&A on your own. You also were building an A team, an acquisition team. What was some of your early concerns about bringing team members into the M&A process, or what were you excited about?
Well, I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal because I told them that we have to do this. We have no choice. And we just did it.
Did anything surprise you about their contributions? Anything that you made as promises? Anything that they shared with you that they were worried about?
Yeah, I mean, when they were going through integrations and integration planning and due diligence, a lot of things came up that they were aware about. They brought that information to me, and now, we had to deal with it. So having good detailed eyes through the process helped out. It helped train them to say, hey, this is the go forward playbook we're following to grow Veza Digital. Either learn it or we're going to find someone else to learn it and do it. And so that's what happened. And I think that process was great. I think having a process is like being thrown into a maze and you have to figure out what the way out is. The process that you laid out is literally the map to that maze. And everyone on the team has to follow that map in order to get through it. That's the only way. And if you don't want to follow the map, you're going to get left behind. This is a proven ironclad process that Peter Lang created, tried, and tested. It works. If it works, put your egos aside and just go with the fucking process. It's not hard. That was the conversation I had with the guys. And look where we are today. We're doing DD. We're doing the process. Everyone's happy. I mean, there's some roadblocks and delays here and there. Nothing's perfect, but we're definitely loyal to the process.
We had a meeting with everyone and said the goal, and this went to you as well, everyone should be unrecognizable from a professional skill set perspective a year later.
Definitely.
But before we go through the details that got people there, would you say that's a fair assessment of yourself and the team?
Yes, most definitely.
So if we want to compress time, you can either have a decade of being an entrepreneur running your own business, or you can do it and have a decade compressed into a year and up level dramatically, not just you, the founder, but the team around you who's going to support you through due diligence and integrations, through the ups and downs of running the business while integrating another company. You want to talk about fun, dynamic change and opportunity, it's going to give it to you. And it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart.
Nope.
But damn, did you get good in a year.
It was a lot of hard work. Definitely a lot of hard work. And I had moments of just like, fuck, man, like, I had moments. I was never going to quit, but I had moments where I'm like, I need a break. I need to go to the sauna. I need to take like a week off. But I never took the actual week off. I just dealt with it. I reflected. I just showed up every single day. And like, that's half the battle is showing up. It's like going to the gym. The hardest part of going to the gym or working out is waking up on time and just showing up. Same thing with M&A. And like, you're right. It's absolutely hard. And it was incredibly challenging for me because I was still involved in some operational aspects of the agency in terms of just sales and business development. And even today, I still spend some of my time, despite us having a sales director, SDRs, account managers, I'm still helping seal a deal with a lot of these larger accounts and there's seasonality. And when the season goes down, you have to think of strategies of going to market very fast. When the next downturn of the season happens, How do you lock in certain contracts that have to actualize into monthly recurring revenue? That's what we're working on now, and it's taking some time for me. But I think the number one thing is just managing your own expectations, because this is going to take a lot longer than you think. This is going to be a lot harder than you think, and it's definitely going to be more emotionally draining than you think, because you're dealing with overwhelmness, because you just don't know what you don't know, and you're constantly learning new information being thrown at you. You're learning that you have so many good deals on the table that you have to now prioritize. One bad deal can fuck up your whole year, and I've seen examples of that, and I don't and I'm trying to my absolute best not to have a black sheep within the organization, people, and another company's balance sheet that we're acquiring. So for me and my team, it's been an incredibly amazing last year and a bit doing M&A. We've all learned so much. I gotta give raises soon because of how good they got. So yeah, I'm very proud, very happy.
Where we left off in the process, you were doing early conversations. You got into the pre-due diligence audits, understanding the business, getting intel, being able to kind of map out the alignment of the target business with the strategy of Veza and where you want to take the company. And then we get into deal structures. I remember your timidness and uncertainty around creative and deal structures and coming up with financing options or funding these deals. Help the listener. Let's go back in time. What would you tell Stefan from a year ago about deal structures and the process of valuing these businesses?
I would tell myself early on that there are many creative methods to give someone what they want in order for you to acquire their agency and their team and their revenue coming in. I was worried about how am I going to finance these deals? I need investors. I need this. I need that. But honestly, the moment you have a signed term sheet LOI, you go to a different investment groups and you can get the money pretty easily. It's much easier to raise money for acquisitions and buying revenue as opposed to raising money to go and build revenue. So that was one thing that I learned, and I was really happy to learn that because I thought this was going to be a lot harder than I thought. But within 10 days, we had our first deal funded. So it wasn't that hard as I thought. I was putting a magnifying glass on how challenging it was going to be, but I told myself not to worry. Everything's going to manifest itself the way it's supposed to manifest itself, and that's what happened at the end of the day.
When you had to present a deal structure or make an offer on a company,
Oh yeah,
take
tough
take us
times.
back to those first ones. How did you feel about here's what you're worth and what I'm willing to give you presentation?
Felt bad. I felt like I was scamming them, honestly. Like I didn't, because I didn't know. My first couple felt like I was not being fair. Like I was like one of those like evil private equity analysts that wear those like vests with the white shirts. What are they called? There's a brand. What the name of the brand? I know we're doing product placement now, but whatever. Yeah, Patagonia. So Patagonia, if you're watching this, make sure you sponsor us. Yeah, like I didn't want to come off like that. I didn't want to come off like a corporate weasel that was trying to like take their business for nothing. I wanted to actually give them an offer that they wanted, that made sense, and also that made sense for Veza Digital, and that made sense for us on a risk perspective. Like, because look, if it was up to me, I would give the person 100% of what they want, but it's not up to me. I have investors, we have a board of advisors, we have a board coming together, we have a team. We have 16 families at Veza Digital that rely on Veza Digital's success to feed their families. Like, there's a lot more at play. So I have to de-risk our position where it makes the most sense for both parties. And early on, I didn't think of it that way. I thought of it as, hey, this is an offer, either take it or leave it. And usually the first offer you get is not the offer that you close at. And so now when I give offers, I know that I'm giving good offers because one, I have a very strong and elite advisory board helping out with that. I have a fractional CFO helping us structure and de-risk our positions in many different ways. We have our indirect IC from our financing partners that are helping us with DD as well. So utilizing their intellect and their knowledge as much as possible has helped us tremendously, especially over the last couple of deals that we've been pushing through. And for me, it's I'm moving into a mindset of being an allocator and using different resources towards a common objective and goal and finding what the best solution is to give a deal to a seller. And I think sellers now are feeling that energy that, hey, look, I'm giving you what you want. However, this is what the guys in the back are telling me now. I gotta make it work like this. So we can't do this, but we can do this. You still get what you want. However, there is a little bit more work involved on your end. There's a lot more support we're going to have to give you to get this to the finish line, but I'm going to get you your money. And here's the vision.
What do you say to the listener who's trying to do their first deal? They're worried that the way that they've been taught the value of business isn't what they're getting from the market, or sellers don't agree with it, and they're making offers and they're not getting these offers accepted. What would you coach them about that process?
I would coach them to be flexible in your approach and how you analyze a business, how you evaluate a business, and the kind of offer you want to give a business. I think that every seller wants to feel heard, understood, and given to what they perceive their value is given. However, it's up to your job to give that value in a certain time frame to satisfy their financial and material needs, and also satisfy their directional needs in terms of like where are they going next in their careers. And if you can paint that picture for them and articulate it in a way in a certain time frame, you're going to get here, here, and here, and here. You got a deal past the finish line. So I think that's what people have to focus on. But I didn't learn this in the beginning. I learned this after like a year and a half of doing it, and I learned it by intuitively feeling it as I was doing these deals. No one told me this. I learned this on my own.
When you've presented, here's the projections of the business, we got their financials, here's the valuation, we've identified the capital stack needed for us to move forward with it. You started evaluating different funding sources, whether that be internal, whether that be creative, whether that be outside lenders. You presented that offer, the offer landed, and they're ready to go. You send an LOI. Let's talk about now the LOI for this first acquisition. How'd you feel when you made that offer and signed that LOI?
I felt great. Felt accomplished.
The LOI was a good milestone?
Yeah, it was like, but now I don't really see it as a milestone. Now I see it as like, all right, we're actually starting our work. Right now it's like, all right, the work to start. It's like, oh shit, now we got to work on this one.
Oftentimes, if you're a sales-oriented founder, everything up to the LOI is like closing a deal, like closing a client. And then everything that's due diligence and integration is like fulfillment on that contract. So you signed the LOI, and we kicked off due diligence with Shadow Digital, which is the first acquisition that we kind of can use as the headliner for Veza here as the example. What was your understanding of due diligence going into it? And then in retrospect, anything that you would give yourself as insights or advice to reevaluate that due diligence process?
The way I saw due diligence at the time was, we're just seeing if the numbers match up. We're seeing if everything makes sense. We're seeing what our use case is going to be and if our thesis is going to be validated through what we find in due diligence. That was my intention. That was my understanding of it. That wasn't what happened at the end of the day, but it was what it was. And for us, due diligence now is a lot more enhanced. We're looking at books and numbers with more scrutiny. We're looking at tax returns. We're looking at money in, money out operations. And we're taking a really large magnifying glass on everything now. We're double checking what people are saying. We're even having conversations now with sellers saying, how do you see the market 12 to 18 months from now playing out? What's happening? AI is coming. And we're having these conversations in due diligence to really see where their mindset's at and put their money where their mouth is, because that's how we're going to be structuring deals going forward. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to see how these sellers are going into our bigger vision that we have. Integration for me was there was things I would have done a lot earlier than later. I would have had the signed letters to all the clients that, hey, that agency has been acquired. This is the new owner. These are the new bank accounts on week number 1. Not week number 6, how we did it last time. So I would have that much, much, much earlier in the process. I would evaluate all the contractors working in due diligence and not the first 30 days of integration. There's all the things that we would have done a lot earlier. So now with our next acquisitions coming in, day 1 is actually day 1 of saying, all right, we have taken over officially. You're fired. This is your new hourly rate. Client, you're paying this account, and everything's set up preemptively. It's not going to be set up after the fact. So that's the way we're structuring things a lot quicker. And where we want to go and where we were and where we are, this delta here, to fill this delta, is all the knowledge we picked up now in integration and what we learned. And now for our next acquisitions, we're going to be starting them at a our integrations, we're going to be starting at a much higher pace. We're going to be a lot more aggressive about things and be less nice about, I should say, be less lenient about what sellers want after the acquisition, because they got their money, they have their terms. Now it's just about them coming and playing by the rules and the culture that we developed.
So you got signed this LOI. Due diligence, as I break it down, has 3 phases: high risk business analysis first, medium priority analysis second phase, and then low priority analysis third phase. And depending on what kind of buyer you are, whether you're fully integrating, you're bolting them on, keeping them separately, calibrates the scrutiny and the rigor that you evaluate potential businesses. And per your point, you are integrating them into Veza. They are becoming a part of your culture and team. And so the level of scrutiny and planning on integrations is even more paramount, even more important than in other instances. Touch on that a little bit more. If we can go back in time and prep your team on the level of attention to detail on the close that you want them to have. Again, what is it, that attention from bank accounts to money transfers? What did you learn? Working capital? What are some of the things you learned?
Yeah, the problem is my team, the A team, does a lot of other A team stuff at Veza. So it's not just acquisitions, it's being an A team on operations, on finance, on sales, on delivery. So going forward, we brought on someone on a hybrid, almost full-time basis to help out with the, and her role is literally get things over the finish line.
Make sure you have a dedicated project manager for the M&A process.
Yes, we need someone who is steadfast, someone who has a good attention to detail, someone who is going to be nice and deliver the message in the kindest way possible and the softest way possible for the seller to understand, hey, it's my turn to shoot back.
For the listener who is probably similar to you, accidental entrepreneur, but you're broken, you probably can never work for anyone anymore. What did you learn about the financial rigor, not just in due diligence, but for your own business over this process?
Yeah, I think bookkeeping is really important. I think like understanding what your project profitability is, what the pod profitability is, what the actual money in, money out operations are. And like, at some point, you're going to have to include a new type of finance system in your business. Like now we're transitioning to a 4 walls EBITDA system at Veza, where we're consistently now working on clean sheeting aspects of the business and doing a soft reset in order to solidify our core so we can now continue to grow into new systems with a bigger vision and a bigger team and bigger revenue to support that. So we're in that process. And for us, we were always on a money in, money out cash basis. And we're obviously moving away from that. We're being very cautious with what our numbers have to look like on a monthly basis. And it's going to take some hard conversations with certain team members that we have on why we do need them and why we don't need them, or, hey, we have to renegotiate your contribution here and what we're going to pay you for this contribution, because the way we're going in now, we're going to need, a different type of personnel to help us get there. We're going through that phase now. And, it was hard to decide, like, yeah, let's do this now. But after I got started, I said, this just makes sense to do it now. But if someone's starting off, I wouldn't say worry about it right now. If you're just starting off, just get your first deal through the finish line. And then once you get the first deal, you might as well just like put both financials into one and do it that way, because that's what we're doing. So you don't have to focus on making the money, focus on growing the business. All this operational stuff and like fine tuning, you can do that after. That's just my approach, though. I'm crazy, so some people might want to do the finer details first, like solidify themselves before going to market. I did it the other way around.
Yeah, I think there's a path for the temperament and capability of the founder, for sure. Many people don't have the appetite or the drive to just go out and dive into an acquisition to help kind of be a catalyst for change. Some want a real foundation to build on top of. They want everything buttoned up before they add additional stresses to the business. Yeah. But again, just like life, just like an ice cream, there's a flavor for everyone. Based on your experience, What are some of the most important considerations agency owners, business owners should keep in mind when pursuing this growth through acquisition strategy?
Definitely have time in your calendar to focus on doing it, and time in your calendar to focus on reflecting on what you've been doing in M&A, because that's the fastest way you're going to learn. And once you learn at least the foundational stuff, you can move relatively quick. You don't have to essentially do the normal things you've been doing to grow your business. You can actually just delegate it to someone else, even if it's not at the level or the standard that you were doing it. As long as it's 70 or 80% of the way to that standard, you can take that 10 to 20% loss in revenue or EBITDA to pursue an even more geometric growth opportunity. That was my mindset going into it. I don't know how other people might relate to that mindset, but my appetite's different. We tend to overcommit, and then we have to now overcommit and getting the money in to actually go and fund these initiatives. And I mean, we've been doing it for 8 years. Our track record's pretty good, so we're gonna probably continue doing that pace, despite us doing a clean sheet and restarting parts of the business. It's fine. It is what it is. Just have the appetite for it, have the time for it, have the personnel around you to help you get to that point. I think mentors and advisors to help compress time is definitely needed. You don't want to go at this alone.
What critical skill sets or team roles should agency owners prioritize in the M&A journey?
Well, if the CEO is doing the M&A, then you have to put a sales team and an operations team in place to manage the day-to-day business at your agency, so you can fully go and spearhead the M&A initiative. As you're spearheading the M&A initiative, you'll know what kind of personnel to put behind you in finance, whether it's a fractional CFO or someone to do some models for you to understand if you're financially inclined. It includes someone owning the full process of M&A and only focusing on the M&A aspect. But I think first of all, just buying yourself time from your day-to-day operations in your agency is the first step. Second step is you spearheading the M&A world, understanding what you can start delegating or automating and hiring for to delegate to, and then continue growing that way. But I think any CEO watching this that has gotten their business to a certain threshold understands that concept, and this is just a refresher for them to really hear it, and a good reminder.
Oftentimes, owners can be their own bottlenecks and they can parachute in and create problems for them to solve. Did you find that having it as your priority helped you delegate because you wanted to do something else that was so meaningful to the business? You had to delegate, bring on more people to help support the business. Was that a factor?
It was a factor, and I actually fucked up because I hired the wrong people to manage money in operations and sales and SDR roles, and I only figured it out that 2 months before we had a crunch season at Veza, because we started losing monthly recurring revenue. We started losing on products and deals. And, you know, I know who to blame for that. It was my responsibility for lack of training and lack of accountability, because I went all in on M&A and I thought it was fixed. I thought it was under control. However, that wasn't the case. So I had to jump back in and do it. Thankfully, we're in a position today where that's not the case anymore. I'm holding our sales director and SDRs in full accountability. I have goals set out. I have utilization rates that have to be sold, and I'm there to support the team now every step of the way. And of course, with the help of Shadow Digital's team now, we bolstered our foundation, our core for the money and operations. So I'm really happy about that, but it was a learning experience. And for anyone listening, I think that you should always have the faucet of new opportunities open at all times. You should always be selling, even if you can't do the job, just to get the money in. And I'm not saying run a Ponzi scheme and start just selling and no one's going to do the work. I'm saying sell it, give a timeline. If you have to refund half of the money and say, hey, we'll keep half and we'll start you 2-3 months from now, have that conversation. Just, be thrifty with it.
For those who are worried about getting pulled back into the business after they start out, and this happened to you, what would you say to yourself to prep you for that? And then you didn't pause M&A when you got pulled back into the business. You didn't stop everything. The pendulum swing didn't go back to organic growth.
No, never.
Explain that.
It's going to happen. Like, just get ready for it to happen, but don't get your foot off the gas for M&A, because that is your North Star that you should be chasing at all times. And if you have to work double time to, work on your operations and M&A, then do it. Why else are you a CEO and doing the job? Why, you can't. The CEO has to do the job at the end of the day. And one of the things I learned from another advisor of our, Felix Velarde, who's helping us out with the 2Y3X program, Did I say it right? 2y3x or 3? Yeah, 2y3x is he told me, if no one's going to do the job, you have to do the job. And if you have to put extra hours in, you got to put extra hours in and just get it done. That's what it comes down to. So anyone listening, yeah, anticipate that you're going to have to get pulled back into the business. And if you do get pulled back into the business, it's going to be a lesson and a key milestone for you to celebrate, because you know there's a problem in your business that you have to now fix and figure out as soon as possible, so you can continue going full force on the M&A stuff, or if you're already going full force, to help buy you time to, sleep better at night.
Is there anything else you want the listeners to know about Veza Digital, your vision and your approach to M&A?
Yeah, if anyone's looking for a really cool, sleek website, we are the top web flow agency. So we have a really cool promotion happening now for 2025 as we're going through this new world of AI and LLM optimization. We're making LLM optimized first websites. If anyone's interested, please feel free to contact me, and you'll get a discount for listening to the full podcast. Just let us know.
Kind of as closing remarks, if we were to distill your top 3 tips for anyone who wants to do, what would those 3 tips be?
Tip number 1 is punch the punching bag as many times as you possibly can. This includes, if you have to reach out to 200 people just to get the introduction call right and you're confident with it, that's what you have to do. Number 2, I had this open already, but number 2, you have to have the right people around you that can support your vision and give you a map in that maze of M&A and how to navigate it. Having someone to bounce ideas with is a really great start. Having someone to do the work with you is an even better start. Number 3, what's number 3? You have to know where you're going. I think this is number 1.
Begin with the end.
Begin with the end and reverse engineer it. If you have, like what I did is I modeled it. I did a Veza Digital 3-year plan, and I started at where I want to be and where I am now. And that delta in between here, I put myself mental milestones that I have to reach and goals that me and my team have to reach in order to get there. Thankfully, I'm capable enough to keep myself accountable and my team accountable to get to these milestones. That was the way that I had to do it. Other people might just put on their whiteboard and say, this is where I want to get, but I had to physically see the numbers and the journey of what it's going to take and how much EBITDA I need on a quarterly basis in order to get to my goal. And even after that, it wasn't just about the numbers. It was about, like, me personally, where I want to be in my career. I'm 32 years old right now. When I'm 35 years old, I'm going to be in a completely different position in my career, in my life. And I want to have certain skills that I can apply towards my businesses that I'm going to be running at those times. And I know that I'm essentially getting an MBA through learning all this stuff firsthand. So for me, whatever happens, if this blows the roof and we become the most popular M&A company doing M&A, great. If shit hits the fan and it goes under, great. Either way, I know I learned a ton. I have a lot of great connections. I know when I start my next new thing or help someone out with their next new thing, I'm going to be at a level where I'm going to be so fucking valuable that I'm going to be like an ultimate weapon. So
for the listener who's interested in maybe selling their agency to Veza or networking with you about future opportunities, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Best way for them to reach out to me would be through LinkedIn, and just reach out. You can put my LinkedIn profile in the bio at the description. So that'll be the best way. Just send me a message and we can go from there. I love connecting with other agency founders. Doesn't matter where they are in their journey. Just connecting with like-minded individuals has always been a key thing that I used to do. So I still continue doing it, and yeah, happy to talk.
Wonderful. Stefan, I appreciate you, and it's been an honor to watch you get your deals done and practicing what you preach every single damn day. Thank you, my man.
Thank you, Peter.